Hello and welcome to The Single Spark, previously known as The Single Girl's Guide to Life. This is the podcast for all things single and sparkling. Whether you're looking to get your spark back as a single or you're looking to make sparks with others, this is the podcast for you. Because all it takes is one single spark. And with that, let's get on with the show. Welcome back. We are going to be talking about how to know if you are ready to date again. And this is a topic that can often be on a single's lips because we've heard previously in our lives that there's some level of criteria that determines whether you are ready or not yet ready to date again. And those reasons or justifications can be that you've been single for 6 months and therefore you must be ready to date again. You've spent enough time being single, 6 months being the threshold, that it must be time for you to get back out there. Another one is time-based, but in some kind of different way, which is that you're 35 now. Of course you're ready to date. You've had enough time being in and out of relationships. Maybe you were single that entire time, but you're 35 now. Like, it's time. It's time to settle down. Last push for children, if that is something that you want to do. Like, it's got to be that. Other people would say it's the length of time after the breakup. So, you absolutely cannot date. You can't date within the first 3 months of the breakup. Of course not. So it's a bit more time sensitive as well. But it's not how long you've been single for. I mean, in theory, it's the same. But I feel like there's a distinct difference between going through a breakup and being single, even though they kind of cross over. But some people just measure it by the time after the breakup. Some people measure it like I was over the breakup, and I've now had my single period, my single experience, my single chapter. And others would go, oh, well, it's not to do with time. Everyone's different. And I think we can all agree that that's probably a better approach to take in general. But they'll use this phrase of, once you're over your ex. It's once you're over your ex. Which has an element of truth behind it, really, in the sense of course, we don't want to be dating if we really do feel that we are in love with our ex still, and that, if they showed up on our doorstep, that we would go back in an instant, because that is going to cause you havoc later down the line if you still have those really strong feelings, haven't processed the grief, and chances are you're going to find yourself in a situation you didn't really want because you weren't over your ex. So there's truth in what can be said there, but we don't go into enough of the detail as to really working out how this time scale of 6 months on average might be working for people, or how to really know that you're over your ex and that you aren't too attached to that. Because I don't think there's a problem with dating if you still admire that person. It's if you would do as I described, drop everything for their return, and you still scroll their Facebook regularly. In fact, you feel tempted to message them nearly all the time. Like, if you find yourself in a new relationship situation and they find out about that, that's not going to be easy to explain away, and you're wasting their time and your time. At the same time, I think we have to look more practically at what it really means to know, because how do you know? What if you're wrong? If you're wrong, then you might start dating again and you're going to get hurt again. You're going to get upset. It's going to be emotional. It's going to be hard work. And you don't want to end up in the same scenario you were in before. I don't want to make the same mistake. I don't want to do things too quickly. I don't want to get into my relationship before I'm ready. Am I going to miss out by not getting myself into a relationship? Am I going to miss out by waiting too long to get into a relationship? All of these fears and worries start to come up. And I don't think there is a specific time. I don't think you have to be fully over it. I think you have to have accepted the end. That can't mean that you're not still at times sad, like when an anniversary comes up, when you know it's their birthday. Because I reckon that you all know someone that got out of one relationship, broke up with someone, or was broken up with by someone, and is now in another relationship, and it's not actually that bad. Like, textbook would say that is doomed, that, gosh, it's just a rebound, or that it's never going to work, have they even healed themselves yet? Now, if you don't have an example that's springing to mind of someone like that, I'll tell you that Jason and I met very quickly after the end of his relationship. I'd been out of it for a long while. He had not so much, which is an interesting dynamic. And it was something that I was acutely aware of as well, as like, I'm going to have to give you space to still work on some of the things, and you've got to decide what you really want. And if this is something that you want and feel that you're ready for so soon after a marriage, like, do you want to be single? On the flip side, I'm always like, you don't realise how lucky you are in some respects to have gone from one situation to another, what you deem to be positive and strong situation, because there are people out there that have been dating for a long time and you have not had to go through the difficulty of what dating is. He only went on one other date with one other person in the period before we met, and ta-da! Whereas I took 3 years out essentially, trying to work it all out there. So, I mean, I did dabble in dating immediately, but would I say I was ready to date? I probably didn't realise that I was not ready to date, because who sits there and thinks about like being able to date or what they want? Like, you just go into a default mode. I've spoken about it before. Loads of people just would be like, oh, are you dating again? So you think, oh, well, I probably should. I was curious more than anything to see what all these dating apps were like, what they were about. Did I want a serious relationship? I would have said that I did. Was I really ready for that? I think that's what kind of prompted this, right? Because I'd felt that pressure. Didn't know I didn't really want it yet. Had a lot more to work out about myself. And the jump into the self-development world made that apparent to me, because I questioned everything. I was questioning my entire upbringing, questioning how I'd got into this situation, questioning whether I ever wanted to buy a house again, questioning whether I ever wanted to be with someone again, and if I was, what did I want that to look like? How did I want that to work financially, romantically? Everything was in question at that point. So in the initial bit, I was on dating apps, but I wouldn't say I was ready. But if you'd asked me at the time, I'd be like, yeah, it's no problem. Or I'm just looking. Want to start. I remember being specific about going on a first date because I wanted to get that out of the way and not feel nervous about a first date scenario, like having never gone on one before. I was like, I really would quite like to get this out of the way. I'm that way inclined. That is me, jumping at the deep end, work it out backwards kind of thing. So I kind of came to a conclusion that I wasn't ready to date because I began to know what I wanted and began to question what I wanted, and didn't just take the blueprint that you're handed of a timescale of being a certain number of months out of a situation, or deciding if I was or wasn't over my ex, because bear in mind I was the one that left. So you're in an advantage point if you are the person that leaves not after like an immediate crisis, kind of like a cheating experience. Like if you leave straight after that, kudos to you, but you haven't been mentally checked out. Whereas if you're the person that leaves, chances are you've had a couple of months to be navigating it, thinking about what that would be like, and when you finally like pull the pin out of the grenade, you've had time to mentally adjust a bit. So that's what I mean by like there's a breakup phase and then there's the single phase, and I think they're slightly different. So it's not about that. But when it came to then being like, I want a relationship now, how did I know I was ready for that? And I think we can start to look at that by looking at how you know that you're not ready yet. Now, one of the clearest signs that this is probably not the right thing for you to be doing, that dating is not a scenario that you're ready for yet, is that you are very, very emotional still about your last relationship. Doesn't mean you're not over your ex, like, because you might absolutely detest them and be like, I know this is the right thing. I wouldn't want to be with them anyway, and they are totally with someone else, got a kid now, it's been a year, but I am still upset about it. It brings me to tears, and I haven't worked through it. And that's the kind of thing about not being over your ex, but being past the relationship and being at a point where you can accept that it's over. And yes, there's a tinge of nostalgia in some way on anniversary dates potentially. That's when we do know that we're probably ready for that, because it's normal to be sentimental about the dates that we had with someone that we were close with. even if they were a dick in the end. But if we're getting upset, if seeing other people being in relationships really triggers us, like really makes us upset, then chances are we've got some work to do. We're not quite there in terms of dating. Because if we're going into dating scenarios with that energy, it's going to come in as not being ready, feeling desperate, and then that informs you to take dates with people that you don't really like that much, that don't really fit what you want truly. And then you're stuck and you're not having a good time dating. Your self-worth is low because what if this, if I just done that? You've not grieved it. So that's one of the earliest signs and easiest things to identify as to not being ready in that situation yet. Another symptom that you might not yet be ready to date is that you want it because it will mean something that other people will think about you. So if I'm in a relationship, people will treat me better. If I'm in a relationship again, then people think I'm on track. My dad's language is absolutely awful for this. So we don't listen to Papa Dyson when we talk about this, because he always talks about, it's nice to see you back on track, everything's back on track. No, Dad, there was no track, there is no path, but I appreciate you're in your 60s and we're just going to leave you to that race. We're going to let you get on with it, because I'm not going to question you and try and change your language around it. I mean, in the text back, I'll be like, yeah, I don't even know what I've put back before. I would just have not even paid attention to the on track. I wouldn't have got offended by it. But if that kind of response from a parent or a friend would have got you like, oh yeah, I am back on track, aren't I? We're probably using dating for the wrong reason. We're probably using dating to validate that we're good enough. And I'm going to say to you that if you're using dating as a way to essentially have a status symbol to get approval, we're probably not ready to date. Probably not in quite the right mindset and in the right frame of mind to be going into this. Because again, you're doing it because you want a result that is external. It's not to do with because I want a deep connection with someone, or because I've always wanted a family. My time is running out to do that naturally, and I would prefer to do it naturally. And so I really want to do that. It's, well, because my mum and dad will be proud of the fact that I've settled down. It'll be because I won't feel like the odd one out in my group of friends. And I understand that those are feelings that can motivate us to not want to feel that way. But if you can't answer some of the next things of knowing when I get to them, then I would question this one big time, because you can't go down on someone else's approval or acceptance or being allowed into a group just because you're now in a relationship or got kids or something. It's gotta be for other reasons beyond that. So the other way to know that you're not yet ready is because you don't know what you want. And so many of you would have come to this episode going, I don't know if I should date or not. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if I want it. I don't know if I want something casual. I don't know if I want more of a friends with benefits. Do I want to be with someone? Would I want them to live with me or not? Do I even want kids? Like, if you can't answer like 75% to 80% of those and know what you want, we aren't ready to date yet. Because those that do want to date, they know what they want and they know why. And that's really good in dating, to go into it with intention, to go in it knowing what you're looking for, because that then means that you don't get messed around, you don't choose the wrong people, because you look at their profile and go, oh, this guy literally is travelling all around the globe, sounds great, but I wanted kids. So unless somewhere he says he's ready to give up travelling and settle down, or in conversations we work that out, I'm putting this as a low conversion. This is probably like a 10% chance that this is going to work if we end up swiping right on each other. But if you're in question, you're not sorted yet. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with being like, I don't know. And if it's an I don't know, in most cases, you should just pause and wait to work it out a bit longer. Now, at some point, the way to work it out is to go on the dating apps and to go on a date. And the reason for that is that once you're on the apps and you start seeing people's profile and you are forced to write in your profile things like, what are you looking for? Something casual, long term, marriage, do you want kids? Yes, no, maybe, not sure yet. Once you start having to fill that profile in and putting that out there publicly, as it were, if you're hesitant on that, that probably means you're not ready to date yet. If you manage to get through that first hurdle and you do put yourself out there, but then you match with someone and you start to talk and things start to move because, they're positive, and then they say, oh, do you fancy going on a date? And you're like, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. This is a bit too quick. I don't know if I really want this or not. Then you're not ready to date yet. And it might take getting on the date for them to ask you the question, so what are you looking for? Or for you to ask that question and they answer it and you go, oh my God, I don't want any of those things. And it's fine. You're pushing me away. You're too much. You're the person saying you're too much for once. Like, oh my God, you want way too much. And I was just here just to find out if I wanted to date or not. You're talking marriage on the first date and it's freaking me out. You will experience what other people are doing to you at some later date and you'll be like, oh, I get it now. Because I have been freaked out by people before. Whether that's just because they're too forward. But when someone is forward and they know what they want, it pushes you. You're like, oh, no, this is awkward. And you feel awkward because you're having to let them down. Because they're obviously enthusiastic. They've told you because they're obviously feeling a positive vibe. And you're like, ooh, that's all a bit serious for me right now. It's not what I want. And so you have to be the one to let them down and be like, it's just not what I'm looking for. It's a whole, it's not you, it's me situation. But So it's quite an extremity to go to end up on a date to work out if dating is for you. But for anyone that's worried that they're going to make a mistake, that they're going to get out there and then they're going to be on a date and then they're suddenly going to be on 5 dates and end up in a relationship with someone they didn't even want to be with just because they went onto an app and got it wrong. Yes, it's hard to do if you are on that date, but you'll know pretty early on, sometimes just through the profile, just through the messaging, or when you're actually on a date, you'll be going, and it's not because of the person, you'll just be going, they're lovely, I just don't want this, this wasn't right for me. And the best thing to do in that case is, honesty is the best policy, to say to them, look, I started dating again, I thought it was something I wanted, it's got nothing to do with you, but the way that you're talking so passionately and confidently about what you want from a relationship has made me realise that I haven't got a clue and that I'm really not ready for it. So thanks for a lovely day. I hope you can have enjoyed the experience even so, and good luck with finding someone that is a great, fantastic match for you. Easy. That's easy. That's not hard, is it? I know some of you would have been stressing over something like that and I've just come up with that off the cuff. Whoa. That's the kind of state you want to get to, where you just say the things that you're thinking and it's not them, it's neutral. I don't hate you. Oh, can't believe you said that all on a first date. It's nothing to do with that. They're just being upfront. They're being honest. So the flip side is then to know how you know that you're ready to date. So by direct opposite to what I just mentioned there, you know what you want. It's easy to come up with ideas. It's easy to say, in most cases, I'm looking for something serious. I'm looking for someone to talk to a lot. I want intellectual conversation. And some of that is learned through dating, not in quite the same way as knowing if you're ready or not, but actually knowing what you like about people or not. What really tickles your fancy. What you're really attracted to comes through trial and error of actually being on dates. But if you it's like the classic phrase of when you know when the right person is sat in front of you. When you know you want a date, you know. You know. And it's not because you're chasing validation or you're trying to find that level of self-worth. You just know. And chances are the reason that you know is because you've got a whole bunch of other things sorted in your life. One of them is that you have created a life that you absolutely bloody love to no end. No one's going to take this away from you because you have created this life being single. It's essentially what the first 100 episodes of the Single Girl's Guide to Life, aka what you're listening to now, but what it used to be called, is all about. It's about having all these elements to your world, a whole spectrum of things that you and your life are that is not your relationship status. It's your friends, it's your hobbies, it's your interests, it's the things you push yourself with, it's the journeys you've been on, metaphorically and physically. It's all the stuff that makes your life what it is, and so that person doesn't become the crux of your happiness. They're just adding to the painting. I always describe them as like the glitter on top of the painting, the bits that create a highlight. And you're not thinking that this person is going to make you happy or is going to give you the status that you're looking for from other people and the approval. You're going, my life's bloody brilliant and you best be as brilliant as that to fit in. And I know that's exactly where I was when I was dating, because I wasn't going to take someone that I didn't think was going to fit that life. And I wasn't going to wait around for someone to mean that I could be happy. I was going to be happy before that. And what do you think that does for your energy when you're dating if you're already in a state where you love your life? Now, one of the other elements you've got to make sure is that you're over your past enough. It's not a time. We're not getting emotional about things. This is that we have accepted the end of what was before. Doesn't mean that you don't ever talk about them. Doesn't mean that you aren't reminded of them, of memorabilia, of dates. But you don't get upset at someone mentioning their name or referencing them. You have grieved that. You're past that. And you accept that that was a chapter in your life. But it comes with another element, usually linked to this. But another sign that you're ready to date is that you're ready to be vulnerable. And that might mean at some point talking about the experience of a past relationship and how it's impacted you today and how you feel about it now. So some people would say that I shouldn't talk about my ex or my marriage, but that was a significant amount of my time and it's part of my character. And so there's a difference between if you went into a date and you've heard this one before, slagging your ex off and you're saying they're psycho, they're crazy. Yes, you've just become a walking red flag for someone. But if you go into a conversation, you say, like, we were together for this amount of time and this is what happened. They were fine. They were a fine person to be with. They were just the wrong choice. And it was really hard. You don't have to bear all and everything on your first date. You can indicate the kind of thing that happened. And a future conversation could happen that's in more depth. But to be honest, to be open, to be vulnerable, if you're prepared to do that, that's the level of intimacy and connection that people like you listening to this podcast are looking for. You're not looking for surface level stuff. You're looking for people to talk about their past experiences and say, I made this mistake in my previous relationship. And sure, yeah, they were responsible for this, but I could have done better on that. And I know now from that experience that this is what I'm looking for and this is why and this is the kind of thing. Conversation, openness, vulnerability, etc. is all to be had there. There's one other element that feeds into kind of all of this and underpins it all to know if you're ready to date again, and that's that you're happy to be alone. That you can be with yourself. That you're not trying to use dating to fill a hole. Because if you're trying to do that, they will fill it for a bit and you'll feel ecstatic on cloud 9. Until it doesn't work anymore. The plaster slips off, the wound opens back up, and there it is again. That feeling of loneliness, even though you've now got a partner. And that's where and why we do all of the work that single life confidence brings, of being happy on our own, of being confident to go out there and do stuff on our own and not relying on somebody else to be there. And sure, some of you will be there, as I have shared with you before, thinking, oh, I really hope I'm not on my own forever. I can accept it if nothing good comes along. But like, my hope, my optimism is that there will be someone that I can share a bed with, have a relationship with, kiss again. But I won't compromise on that, and I will accept being on my own if nothing else comes about. I'll do everything in my power within reason, without manipulating people, whilst being authentic and waiting for the right person to make it happen. Just like the people that are on my coaching programs do. Like, they're ready to make it happen, but they also accept that they cannot magic someone into their lives, but they're going to do everything within their power that doesn't make them crazy to encourage finding that relationship. Hope that's given you some indication of how to evaluate this whole scenario of being ready to date again. Until next time, everybody, keep sparkling.